Welcome friends, welcome back to the kitchen, welcome back to Sunday morning and the old cookbook show. Today we're going to do a recipe out of this little old cookbook. This is called, and it's a mouthful, The Practice of Cookery, Pastry, Confectionery, Pickling and Preserving with, and then it just goes on and on and on and on. It was written by someone named Mrs. Fraser, and the first edition of this cookbook was published in 1791. I have a third edition of this book published in 1800. And Mrs. Fraser was an instructor at cookery schools, and she taught mostly people who were going to go into service and who would work for families in smaller households as cooks. And much of this work is based on an earlier work published in the early 1770s, I think 1773, by her former employer, Mrs. McIver, who ran another cookbook school or another cookery school. And these recipes are pretty straightforward. They're really nice. This is an excellent book if you want to buy a reprint. I know that reprints are available. I think the Townsends have a reprint for sale in one of their stores. So we're going to start with this recipe. It's called pan pudding. And the recipe starts out: beat up 4 or 5 eggs with 4 spoonfuls of flour. And one of the things you notice about this book right away is that it's still written using the long S and a couple of other letters that we no longer use in the English language. And I'm going to use 4 eggs today because I have large eggs. So in they go. Next, 4 spoonfuls of flour. I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it says to cast until no knots remain. Whisk, beat is pretty much the idea of what you're going for here. And it'll take a little while because beating flour into eggs like this is going to leave you with some lumps, and you don't want any lumps. I think that's what she means by knots. I think I'm free of knots. So I'm going to put in the next ingredients, which are some salt, some cinnamon, and she doesn't say how much cinnamon, just some cinnamon, and again, nutmeg. Not how much, I guess you're just supposed to know. And so don't freak out when you don't see amounts like this. It's really to taste. If you like cinnamon, add a little more cinnamon. If you like nutmeg, add a little more nutmeg. If you don't like them, leave them out or pull them back a little bit. These are things that you shouldn't have to worry too much about. You don't need exact measurements. The next thing, she does give an exact measurement, and that's half a mutchkin of sweet milk. So that's just regular milk to you and I, and half a mutchkin works out to about 250 milliliters in today's money. So let's go. Well, that bag's empty. I guess I need to fill it up again. There we go, just about 250. Okay, so this milk goes in. Then she asks for half a glass of brandy. I'm not going to use fantastic brandy for this because I'm not sure if I'm going to like the recipe yet. So put that in. And then you just dump in all of the rest of the ingredients at the same time, which are sugar, suet. Suet's in everything from this time period. And so that's beef suet. You can get that at the grocery store here in Canada. You just go to the butcher counter and ask for it. Or it's in the frozen section with the turkeys. Currants. Currants are in everything too from this time period. So we'll mix this up. And I'm a little bit worried because this is a really, really loose batter. I don't know how I'm going to fry this. Now the next step is to cook these, and you cook them in a frying pan over a slow fire, apparently. Let me actually just read out the next instructions. I'm a little worried about the batter because it is really loose, and I'm not sure how it's going to cook in the pan. It's even more loose than a regular pancake batter. And there's no leavener in here either, nothing to puff it up. So it says, Then put a piece of butter in a frying pan, and when it boils, place as many patty pans with loose bottoms in the pan as it will hold. With the mouths downmost, pour the pudding in at the holes in the bottom and fry them on a slow fire. When the pans come off easily, it is a sign the puddings are nearly done. Then turn them up and set them on their bottoms so that they may be equally and thoroughly fried. So, I've got this on medium, slow fire. I'm going to put some butter in the bottom, not sure how much, maybe that much, and we'll let that melt and boil. I think that's when it starts to froth. It says petty pans with loose bottoms. I have petty pans, but they don't have loose bottoms, so that's not going to work. Closest thing I have are these little tart cases. They have a loose bottom, and I know that I can fit 2 of them in the bottom of this frying pan. Let's see what happens. Okay, it's starting to bubble. We're going to put our pans in the bottom. And I don't know how much batter to put in. So I've got a little scoop. And let's see. Maybe 2 scoops in each one. And I wish Mrs. Fraser was actually here teaching me how to do this the first time, or that I could be at her cooking school. So I've got this on what I would think is a slow fire, and we'll just watch it carefully and see how it turns out. Okay, it's been about 3 minutes. Let's see. Can you take off the ring? Ooh, we can. Only really hot. Ooh. Now, can we flip them over? Oh my. I love it when a plan comes together. These look and smell wonderful. And the butter is starting to get a little bit brown in the bottom of the pan, which is going to bring a nuttiness to the outside. Okay, 2 down, and a bunch more to go.
Hey, Glenn.
Hey, Jules.
Hey, friends. I thought we were having pudding. This is not like what I was expecting for pudding.
This is a pan pudding.
Okay.
From the 1800 version, the 3rd edition of Mrs. Fraser's very long-winded titled cookbook. So I have no idea what to expect.
It looks a little Welsh cakey, like it's a Welsh cake with the...
It does look like a Welsh cake, but it was a thin batter poured into the pan.
It's fried?
Mm-hmm. Like the currants.
You have it with tea?
Well, and I wasn't sure if it was a breakfast, if it was a snack, if it was a dessert.
I think it depends who you are and what you like. I mean, some people like sweet things for breakfast, some people
Yeah.
don't.
I think if you pulled those out of the pan hot and put them on a plate with some syrup or powdered sugar, it would be a great breakfast.
Oh, I think that would be... See? And I'm like, I think that's too sweet.
But I would say in 2000, where are we? 2021, there's an awful lot of fat in these. The suet, I would cut the suet back, or maybe if you don't have suet, use butter and not put in as much, because suet can be a little bit too much for our lifestyle today. Maybe.
Especially our current sedentary
Yeah,
stay-at-home lifestyle.
If you were getting up in the morning and heading out to, cut down some trees or mind the sheep, you'd probably need this. But today we wouldn't need it.
I think it would be great with tea.
It would, yeah.
I think you can modify it to do, like anything, you can make it your own. I think you could sprinkle sugar on it. You could put powdered sugar.
And they're meant to be much smaller, too.
You could make them into smaller bites.
Yeah.
You could add a different type of fruit.
Oh,
I
yeah,
actually
definitely.
thought they had chocolate chips when you first opened it, so
Chocolate chips would be great in it.
I just,
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's the beginning of a whole bunch of other things that could happen here.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing. This is a cookbook from 1800, and when I saw pan pudding, I was a little bit, what's this? And I did a tiny little bit of research to see if this recipe went anywhere. Is this recipe still out there, and is it called something else today?
That's a good point.
If you're in Scotland and you're still eating this, what do you call it today, and how do you make it? Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.